Hello everybody, my name is Gary Yao, and today I would like to share with you some pointers on why real estate and stock and economy is going to go higher in spite of this pandemic and in spite of what a lot of what the media is saying, that we might be heading to a crash and we're going to be burned. So before I get started with that, I would like to extend an invitation that if you're looking for ways to build wealth through real estate without the need of saving money, you can contact me. I will give you all the information, and you find that we're a good match, perhaps we can work together. So let's get started. Today the stock dropped 10% of its height from, mainly because of the tech stock have been going down. One of the major catalysts is because Tesla, they didn't deliver what the high expectation was. Not like they didn't deliver, but the biggest expectation was that people expected them to announce a 1,000,000-mile battery. Now that might be coming down in the development, but it's not going to be happening anytime soon. And because the people didn't get what they expected, the stock went down. And it might continue going down for the next few days. That's how the nature of these high-flying stocks operate. But should we be afraid of what's happening? Should we fret? Yeah, that's what you said. Well, not necessarily. Think about this. All companies, or most major companies, offer 401k. And even if you're an independent contractor or you're working independent for yourself, you might be having 401k. When you contribute to that, that money, it goes towards stocks. And you cannot take it out until you're retired or heading into retirement at age 65. So think about this. Where the stocks goes up and down doesn't really matter because you invested in it anyways, right? So what's happening is that the major funds, the fund managers, they just play balancing the stocks just to make sure that they can maximize their profit. So think about it like this. It's a bucket of water, right? And it's overflowing smaller buckets, right? So they're balancing the different buckets. Hopefully you can, or cylinders, right? So that the end is going to be all balanced out, right? Now, how does that work with real estate? Let's start with LA, for example. LA, this is the city that I'm working at, and this is a city where I sell real estate. What we notice in this, in this past couple of years, is that the baby boomer generation, they are selling their properties in the middle of the city and they're buying in the suburban areas. Now, LA is different from other cities. It's not like it doesn't have a big downtown area. It's a small downtown area and pretty much suburban throughout the area. So the city itself has been playing with balancing, right? So that instead of having one big city, it's just flat, just like the city itself, right? So LA is playing an act of balancing. So whenever a city is too expensive, people are going to move to less expensive area. So therefore, it's going to share the wealth evenly, right? Now, let's think about California as a whole. Well, we can see that is also an act of balancing. People in, let's say, San Jose, Silicon Valley, right? They want to move away from that from expensive cities, from expensive rent. They can move to less expensive ones. Let's say, for example, for LA, or maybe they can move to San Bernardino County. It's happening thanks to the technology allowing people to work from home. Zoom technology has given the opportunity to people to work from home. Therefore, we can see that, instead of you paying for $1 million house, more like $1 million studio in a small city or a big city, now you can work from your home in, let's say, San Bernardino County for, $500,000, buy a 3-bedroom, 2-bath apartment, and you can still have all the real estate for you, all this land, and still saving some money. That is on the level of state. But that is state. Now let's go to country. In a few videos ago, I mentioned that the story of Pinterest, a social media company that broke their lease. They pay a $2 million penalty for breaking the lease, a 7-store building, and all the employees went home. But home to them wasn't Silicon Valley. They went to the different states of origin. Some of them were from Utah, some of them were from Iowa, Midwest. So now they're going to take this high-paying job back to their city, to their state, to the suburban areas. Now they're going to have that money, well, put in the real estate, which is going to help the economy. So as you can see, we're going to see this balancing economy, where the least expensive areas going to be taking advantage or receive this much needed input of money. So far so good that we're balancing throughout the US, the whole country. But keep in mind that we're living in a globalization market, in a global environment. 2008 was safe because of a lot of foreign Chinese buyers went to the coast of California and they started buying a lot of properties. But that wasn't just in California. They also bought in New York and in different states. But that also didn't stop there. In areas like Australia and countries in Europe receive a lot of input from money from China, from buyers from China, and we can saw that the economy was safe thanks to that. Well, that is going to be happening today in a global market. How do we know this? Well, let's take the example of 2008. At that time, when the economy was cranking, a lot of countries in Latin America, they were booming. If you take, for example, countries like Panama, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Chile, all these countries on average, they grew a GDP of 7%. Crazy, right? The country of Panama in 2009, the growth rate was about 12 to 13%. No, even China can compare to that. And the average growth rate of China is 9%. Why is that? Well, when the economy tanked here in the US, all these investors who had money, they needed to put that money somewhere. So where did they headed that money? Where did they put that money? Well, they put it in emerging markets. At that time, in 2009, around that time, I was working as a market researcher for Latin America, emerging countries. And we were selling technology. We were selling cloud technology for third world countries. And that was a big input. It boosted the economy of these countries, and then they flourished. Now, fast forward, that was in 2008. Fast forward to 2014, and that money went from the world. Went from the US to the world, and now in 2014 went from the world back to US. Meaning that all that money that was already in those countries, they pulled back and they put it back in the American market. As you can see, it's a balancing act. If the US is printing, which it is, it's printing a lot of money, right? It's printing a lot of dollars. These dollars are going to be flowing outside of the country to other countries. And God knows that a lot of these countries need the US dollar. For example, take a country like Venezuela. They are, I think $1 is like 1,000,000 pesos or something crazy like that, right? They have like 1,000,000% inflation. Well, they're not using their own bolivares, I think. They're using, they're using any other currency except their own, which means that they're hurting for dollars, and they will want to have this currency. So it's going to be a balancing act, meaning that we're going to experience a lot of growth moving forward because the dollar is going to spread around the world, which in essence is a good thing. Because imagine if we have $100 today and $1 million today in the whole country, then that means that we're going to experience inflation. But if this dollar is spread out around the world, then we can still maintain a level of inflation quite comfortable at 2%. 2% is the current rate of inflation that we have right now. Anything more than that, that's going to be hyperinflation. Well, not exactly more than 2%. We could be experiencing 2.5% and still be okay. However, at the current rate, 2%. And what is the current real estate mortgage? About 2.5%. So you can see it is barely keeping with inflation. In other words, is your rent, not your rent, your mortgage. If you get a loan, that money is free money because you're not paying anything extra. You're paying what you're getting. And with inflation eating away that loan, that means that really you're getting free money. With that said, right now, the best place where you can actually put your money to work, in my opinion, is real estate. I would love to have a chance to prove it to you guys. So for now, this is what I'm going to share. My name is Gary Yao, and I will talk to you soon.